Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Scott Jennings absolutely sticks it to the CNN panelist in this very heated debate over illegal immigration and what is to be done about it. But before we dive in, I want to give a quick shout out to our great sponsors over at Colonial Metals Group. Even though Trump won the election, you still need to protect your wealth with gold and other precious metals, but more on that later. Now, let's dive in.
But I'm just saying we have to separate some of this and think about this.
The challenge of sorting through them is mammoth. We had a hard time doing it in Iraq. Okay, our troops have had a hard time doing it in Afghanistan. Trying to ask them to sort through who's who and implement a policy like this, here in the United States is like nothing we've ever seen.
Actually,
I mean, hold on. Maybe the only precedent we have is internment camps during World War II against Japanese Americans. But there's not a military precedent for sorting through who on the Upper East Side is an illegal and who's not. And you're asking a 19-year-old, right, holding a weapon, who signed up to serve his or her country, to thrust themselves into maybe the most fraught political topic that we've got in this country. People want a solution, but they don't necessarily want that one.
You've twice now insinuated that Trump's going to send the military to round up American citizens, which is totally false. There are 1.3 to 1.6 million illegal immigrants in this country today who have already received deportation orders from a court. You can start there. There's another population, as Mark said, that have either committed violent crimes in the United States or committed violent crimes where they came from. You can also do that. That has nothing to do with the people in your neighborhood, has nothing to do with the person in your office, and has nothing to do with whatever the hell you're talking about. It has to do with getting people out of the country who do not belong.
How are you going to deploy the military? Give me how exactly you would deploy an active duty military unit to respond to this crisis.
I would use the military in conjunction with local officials,
what does that look
local
like?
law enforcement, county sheriffs, people who know their communities, because I assume a lot of the local sheriffs and jailers are going to be the people who end up housing some of these folks before they are deported. But there has to be some...
What's the task and purpose? What's the mission for that young private? What is he actually going to be tasked to do? Guard a gate? Or is he going to be investigating?
I don't know. I wasn't elected
But you're
president,
sitting here on CNN saying we should do it. I think you should think out a little bit more about what they actually should be required to do.
Who do not belong
It sounds real good.
One at a time. Scott, quickly.
There are millions of people who came into the country illegally, who have already received deportation orders, or who have committed some other crime while they've been here. The fact that you want to leave them in place is mind-boggling.
That is not what I said.
That's kind of what you said there, buddy. But you know what? I'm actually going to give you some props, Baldy, because you actually seem like you care about the solution to the issue. You care about the logistics of an issue. And Scott Jennings is holding his own. But this isn't a slam dunk opportunity. This is merely okay, we're starting to bring Democrats to the table. We're starting to even get CNN to talk about major issues. I mean, even Joe Scarborough and his wife came to Mar-a-Lago to try and patch up relations, after they had been dragging his name through the mud for the past 9 years, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is Democrats are starting to realize, we have not been governing too well. Because after all, if you watch my channel at all, you'll know that one of my favorite phrases is Democrats can't govern. And I mean that not to dunk on these folks, but because they have shown time and time again that they just can't do it. Hey y'all, I'm not exactly looking at retirement anytime soon, but my parents are, and friends of my parents are, and I'm sure either you or someone you know is looking at retirement and wondering, what do I do? How do I help prepare for this in this economy with this terrible president and with a vice president who basically coup d'etat him and is now looking to run for president herself? How do you protect against this? Well, simple. You go over to my friends at Colonial Metals Group. They quite literally have something called the Retirement Package Plan. This plan backs your wealth with gold and silver accounts. And furthermore, you will have direct access to these accounts. So you're not at the whims of Wall Street. You're not at the whims of inflation. You are in command of your own destiny. As a bonus, qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in free silver, plus a couple of other little goodies that they're going to package up for you, and you're going to be able to protect your wealth and your retirement. So go over to this link in the description below at colonialmetalsgroup.com or call this number 800-203-0422 and see how they can help you prepare for retirement today by backing your account with gold and silver. Don't delay your retirement, folks. Protect the money that you earned with Colonial Metals Group. They're here to help. Right? There are rare occasions where it works, and there are legislators and aides that I have met that are Democrats, and they're fantastic people. They're competent. They're intelligent. These are workable people. And I think this dude here, Baldy here, actually cares about the solution. So you know what? This is a guy that if I was in the legislature, would probably lock myself in a room with him, get really ticked off after about an hour, demand to be let out, and after 5 minutes of breathing clean air again, come back in, we shake hands, we make up, and we continue to work on the issue. So, to answer some of his questions, how does using the military, which by the way, this is not necessarily a hoax, but this was this trumped up idea because Trump at 4 o'clock in the morning liked to post somewhere that that using the military to deport illegal immigrants was going to be the best option. So yes, liking a tweet is surely the best policy going forward. I mean, after all, when diva wide receivers like a tweet from an opposing team, that really means that that new receiver is going to be traded to that team, right? And we've seen that in the NFL every single time, right? Of course not. That's a ridiculous thing. It's a tactic. It's a rhetorical tactic. And so, in order to bring people to the table, often you push things in one direction or the other, and so you hope that you can meet in the middle somewhere. That's exactly what's going on. So, when this gentleman is asking Scott Jennings about, okay, well, how do we do this? Well, we've done this before. When the National Guard gets mobilized for a disaster or for a potential threat, they often cede a lot of their military power, and they say, okay, we have our own system, but we answer to the local law enforcement. That's simple. That's exactly what's going to happen. We've seen this time and time again for natural disasters or for when a new governor is coming in and there's been a protest that wants to come out there and, throw rotten fruit at him or anything along those lines. And of course, the National Guard is going to come out. They're going to protect the high-profile people, and they're going to work directly with local law enforcement. I can't see any other situation going on here. So when you're talking about logistics, that's a good thing. We also need to talk about legal logistics. We need to talk about extradition. We need to talk about forcing cities to actually start prosecuting some of these illegal migrants. This means that, and I've talked about this so many times in other videos, but the man who murdered Laken Riley should be extradited back to New York, made to pay for his crimes, and then shipped off elsewhere or put in our prison system for the rest of his life. Personally, I think other penalties are involved, but that's not what's important here. What's important is CNN is starting to sound like they care about the issues again. Now, this is a lot of theater, but it's an attempt to reconcile what they've been doing for so long. And that is directly lying and misleading rich white liberals and their children. Okay? That's what they have been doing with the majority of their airtime. Because their entire business model for the past almost decade has been Orange Man bad. Okay? Now that Orange Man's back in office, and he has a long list of things that he's going to do line by line by line. We've got an attorney general on pace to really shake up D.C. We've got Tom Homan, who cares about cleaning up the illegal migrant problem, and that's going to start not with Grandma, who's been making empanadas on the street corner. No. It's going to be pretty much anyone who has a violent history and is not paid for their crimes. That's priority number one. And if you want to talk about actual solutions to the issue, I don't think it's mass deportations. Okay? Again, Grandma making delicious empanadas is not what we want to deport. I would like to keep Grandma around. And instead, I would like to have a small fine. How much have you been making? We have your tax information. So you've been making this much. Okay, we're going to garnish some of your wages to pay for your crime of coming in illegally. And you know what? We'll even make an act. We'll call it the Illegal Migrant Act or the Illegal Immigrant Act. And we'll make sure that they get certain protections under certain laws because, again, they're not U.S. citizens. So that makes this, the U.S. Constitution, very, very murky in what you can do legally. And so we're in uncharted waters. But I believe that people should certain people should be fined, and that includes people who have broken the law by entering our country illegally, but also the people who have hired them and have cut out American workers and higher wages for said American workers because they're being undercut by illegal migrants who will work for less. That's not fair to Americans. That's also taking advantage of these migrant workers, and that's a business being unethical. We need to start having a discussion about that. But if you want to talk about that discussion, please let me know down in the comments what you would do to fix this massive issue. We are starting to have a real conversation about it. Scott Jennings was talking about what's actually in place, and even this bald dude, and again, I'm not saying this to degrade him. I'm simply saying because I have no idea who this is, but he seems like a guy that I can work with. Even though he's being a little pushy, that's someone who actually cares about the situation. Or at least I think so by his body language, by his demeanor, and it's starting to show that CNN seems to care about the issues, which tells me that there's a seismic shift going on in our country, and we're finally starting to heal and starting to wonder what it's going to take to truly make America great and healthy again. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one, and until then, y'all have a good one.